really, really interested in, I think we got a few questions about this. I'll pull those up in a minute when we kind of come towards the close of today's episode. But just like the nutrition throughout the journey, I know it's very different for swimmers, runners, little gel packets of gel or energy bars, pieces of fruit. It's a lot easier when you're on dry land, but when you're submerged in the water, popping your head up to have a feed, you get an opportunity just to rest for a moment. You're still treading water though. So what kind of liquids and foods can you consume? And, how much of a challenge is it to get enough fuel into your body, especially when you're on this 31-hour journey? It seems like I don't think anything would be enough really.
If anybody's seen Andy Donaldson swim, he takes about 2 seconds to feed. So there's no treading water. He just does one arm drill, feeds, and away he goes. Mine, because it was a much longer distance, I did take a couple, maybe a minute. So the kayak's there, they've got the food. We determined very early on that I needed to be fed food at the same body temperature, core temperature. So I didn't want to be too hot because I needed to throw it down, but it couldn't be cold because that's going to lessen your core temperature as well. So they're there with warm food. For a 12-hour swim for an English Channel, I can get away with sugar, like maltodextrin mixed with a bit of cordial and water. That's enough for me. So I take about 30 grams an hour of maltodextrin, water, very simple, very easy to apply. And I'll just squirt that down and away we go. It's on a rope, they pull it back and you're not interrupted at all. On a channel like that, you'd stop for 20 seconds perhaps. On these, it was a bit longer, maybe a minute. And I had to change because 12-hour swim is one thing. After 12 hours, certainly after 24 hours, you need to take a bit of protein. Your muscles start to need a bit of support and recovery. So you need a bit of protein mixed in. We decided maltodextrin, rice, and it should have been savoury. I chose for sweet for whatever reason. I'm still paying for that with my wife. I told you so. Yes, you did. I've learned. That's a lesson I've well learned. And then there's other foods to be had as well. Sometimes I like a bit of white bread because you can burn that very quickly with some Vegemite because that's a strong taste that can get through the salt. Remembering your tongue's peeling out, it's burnt, your mouth's burnt. All you want to get is fuel in your belly, but it's hard because I didn't vomit at all, but some of that food I just didn't want to have. So I sort of put my mouth and swig off and spit half of it out, try to get a bit in. But such is the community in Coogee that the local restaurateur, Barzura on the beach, cooked me up beef cheek, cooked the whole crew up beef cheek ragu with gnocchi. So it was 5-star dining on the boat. And when I was in the water, I think, how come? Why is it they're getting the good stuff and I've got sugary water? So I demanded my rights to get a little serve of beef cheek ragu, about a handful in a Tupperware container at one stage. And it was midnight, it was warm, it was something strong. Just as I was about to eat it, a wave plopped a whole lot of salt water in it, and I ate it anyway. I remember saying, I better tell Rod that it's a bit salty, but of course that's the salt water. But it felt good, it was solid, it was what other people, so there's a psychological benefit to it as well, and it felt good. So it was just working out what I wanted to have, what I felt like intuitively, and what I needed from a perspective of nutrition. What I did champion on this swim that I hadn't worked out before is that to try to delay the onset of salt burns on your mouth, remembering that can cause swim off too, because the salt slowly goes down your throat and can develop an esophageal ulcer, and that's time to get out of the water if that happens. So I asked a scientist friend of mine, she said, fresh water is the best way to delay salt burns in your mouth. I've tried Listerine before, that has some effect. And so I was swishing out with fresh water every time just before a feed. I was running it through my nose and through my nasal cavities, just flushing it out with fresh water every 45 minutes. And so that's how come I think I was able to get out in such good shape after 31 hours. Sure, it was burnt, and sure, my tongue completely peeled out afterwards, but it was delayed so long that I couldn't get the swim out of the way.